Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. Today's reading I think is actually going to be very special, very high order spiritual. That's the aim, that's the intention, and it's precisely because we're delving into the messages from Isis and really trying to go as deep as we can with the wisdom of ancient Egypt. And this is in honor of the fact that I just received a deck I purchased that I think is going to be a cornerstone of spiritual readings, particularly for anybody that's interested in the sort of ancient Egyptian mysteries for me going forward. It's called the Tarot of Saqqara or Saqqara. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's spelled Saqqara. All the details for where I got it and so forth is in the description box as usual. But this is a very high order and deep deck. It's interesting because it's based on the ancient Egyptian mystery schools, initiatory pathways, and so forth. Very, very well studied deck. And it is also a deck that can be used as a standard tarot as well, though it has some additional cards that you use in certain circumstances. And we're going to use it in today's, but in a very specific circumstance, because these particular additional cards aren't normally used in a reading in this sort of way. But I think that this is a deck which over time I will get more familiar with, because it has both the traditional means you can certainly work with that, but it also has some interesting ways of dealing with sort of upright and reversal. It looks at upright as the cause energy and reversal as the effect, which is very interesting. And as I say, it has a lot of sort of symbology and all sorts of things that really connect it back to the initiatory paths in ancient Egypt. So beautiful deck, and you'll see. So what I'm going to do until I get more familiar with the deck is use it as I'm going to use it here, which is starting with it and also the Isis Oracle here to connect it back to the message of Isis, to give the scene setting of the high order message that Isis is bringing to you. Then I'll use a different deck that I think is complementary in terms of sort of energy, but is more standard day to day, to look at this in the more 3D, what this means to your life sort of energy, and then complete the circle of the reading with some other oracles for other advice. So I do have a feeling, not only with using this very special deck, but also with when I shuffled and asked Spirit to find the 4 cards for the Isis Oracle for what Isis may want to be bringing forward, given the energies of these cards, I think this is going to be a fairly fascinating and exceptional level sort of reading for people who are interested in this side of things. And as I say, I think I'll use this more and more in spiritual readings when I want to draw on ancient Egypt energies. If you do come to me for a private reading, and of course nobody's ever expected to, but if you wanted to and on a spiritual thing and you feel connected to ancient Egypt, please let me know when you do that, because this may be a deck that you would be interested in seeing for that as well too. So as always, I'll put down the numbers for the piles, and as always, I will say you can go to more than one reading. Isis may have more than one message for you. So you do you on that, and you may choose by numbers, that might be how you always choose, whatever way works for you. But in case it helps, because this is the only Isis Oracle card we use, so it will be a fundamental scene-setting energy for the reading. For pile 1, we have the Eye of Horus, which is about awakening divine perception. For pile number 2, we have the Lunar Queen, which is she of the celestial crescent, so very strong moon energy. For pile number 3, we have Queen of Heaven, blessings from the divine empress of the skies. And for pile 4, we have Cartouche, divine names of power. So you will see what I mean about these are some pretty interesting energies right out from the bat. And then I will explain the rest when you get to your reading, how I'm using the Tarot of Saqqara. And then the rest will follow in probably a more traditional way of doing a reading. So I hope you enjoy this. I'd love to hear what you think and how it connected for you in the comments if you care to share. But for now, all there is to do is for you to go and find your reading in the timestamps below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So as I said in the introduction, we have the card from Isis here, so the overall message that she wants you to get. Then we have a sense about how this message relates to a particular stage in the initiatory journey and where you might be at in relation to this. It may not be where you are at in relation to all your spiritual development, but certainly in relation to what she wants you to hear right now. And then some scene setting for what this means at a very high level. So the first thing I'm going to say a couple of things that immediately jump out to me about this to set the context, and then I'm going to actually read you what this is so that you understand what the stage is that she's talking about. I'll talk about what she is saying, and then we will go through these in a little bit more detail as well. But the overarching message here for you, Pole 1, is that you are developing your spiritual gifts. You are developing divine perception. But I feel that for various reasons, you may not have fully understood that or fully accepted it within yourself. It could be because you have been in family situations or cultural or even like potentially friends and so forth around you, though a lot of this tilts towards sort of family and genetic sort of and karmic, generational karma, maybe in a situation where it wasn't approved of or wasn't seen in some way. And there is a need to release the control of that sort of energy on you so that you can start to trust what you see and therefore manifest the best outcomes for yourself. But what Isis wants to be saying to you with the Eye of Horus here is that your clairvoyance in particular, possibly some other clairsenses, particularly clairvoyance and healing capacities are growing, and that you are about to step up into a new level. And this is reflected by the level on the initiatory path. So this is one of the 4 cards that I described in the introduction that are not part of the normal reading, but this tells you a bit about the stage. And this is the stage of someone who has gone from a first level aspirant or someone who is wanting to learn the mysteries to someone who has reached an initiate level. So this card talks about how there is much in common between the Divine Eye card and also the Fool card in the more general tarot. The difference being, it's a bit like how I read in normal tarot, the Fool reverse. This is where you've been through a whole cycle, you're ready to go to a new level. So this is what this is talking about. And I'll just read you a little bit from the book that I think could help with this. So it says, the Divine Eye floats over the entrance as an encouraging symbol to the aspirant. So you are meant to be coming into your next level. In traditional tarot cards, the aspirant or fool, as a pilgrim, carries a staff on the shoulder, and from it hangs a bag made from the simple square of linen, drawn in hieroglyph as a handle. Symbolically empty, since it will become a ritual garment and will thus contain the body. So when it is at this point, you have penetrated the facade of Saqqara, we find ourselves in the first chamber. On either side, a door valve sculpted from the stone. They remain ever open, inviting the pilgrim to begin the quest. So this is sort of like the Alpha and Omega. This is you've been through one cycle and you're about to go to this new level. Here the aspirant receives the first instruction. Now the aspirant stands with a bare head and feet before the portal. At his waist, the apron tied with a cord symbolising his navel string. To the open space, he recites his qualifications. So this is basically, as I say, symbolically taking that next step, being welcomed within a pathway. So Isis is welcoming you within the pathway. It says that you have developed your skills to a higher order. You are now meant to take it even further. But you do need to believe in yourself. If you are stating your qualifications, in a sense, to the divine court, you are in fact stating where you have been and understanding it. That's where it becomes very interesting here. So this card here, which they call evolution in this deck, is actually judgment, and it's judgment reversed. And in this deck, this card very much connects to genetic and family and ancestral property and belongings and status and all of those sort of things. It has a overarching sense of karma being played out through those sort of energies. And it's interesting that we have 2 pentacle cards here. But when this is reversed as an effect, it is where possibly there have been the wrong decisions in relation to that. And that is supported by the fact that we have the 2 of Pentacles reversed here as well. It is like there have been some decisions on a material level or in terms of maybe following a family belief structure or the requirements of a workplace or the requirements of a system that are not serving your evolution, that you need to either clear, and maybe some of your healing energy will clear generational karma. For some of you that might happen, or you may need to clear yourself from caring about those things as opposed to your own spiritual knowing and the path, because a lot of Eye of Horus is talking about owning your own understanding and knowing how to use it in a just way. So there's something in this situation for you, Pile 1, where your spiritual gifts are meant to either right a wrong around those sort of material things, or at least free you from almost wrong think. So your decisions are clearer. That takes you then to the Six of Pentacles, where you can have a better distribution of resources, where your ideas and your spirituality brings a better flow of energy and better material rewards for you. If you have been trying to manifest, this could be clearly saying to you that you have followed a path to do that was not the right path. And whether it is family or whether it's a spiritual path. But by making a decision to trust your own inner knowing a bit more, you can bring that in. The sun reversed in this deck is good either way. And that's to some degree true of any tarot deck. So there is good fortune, but I do feel that with it reversed, it is saying that it is also tilting to the fact that you are meant to get back onto your life path and your way of bringing in the sun rather than the sun energy from others. And there may have been a person around you with the King of Swords reversed here who has been unfair, who has been at worst duplicitous or lying, at best maybe very, very cold, very, very clinical, very, very scientific, very anti all that was spiritual. But you have to move away from these energies to let your sun shine. But you have to believe in yourself, because Isis believes in you. The message is that you're ready to take that next step and for it to have a material outcome. So trust your inner knowing, trust your clairvoyance, watch for signs and symbols, watch for healing energies that work for you and for others, because this will be the confirmation if you need it. If you are still sitting in doubt on any level, it will confirm for you that you are ready to be welcomed to that next level. So that's very deep, but it's a little bit of a challenge for you because you do actually have to shift something that hasn't worked, and you may have believed in it for a very long time. But it's actually dimmed your light rather than really let you reach your potential, pile one. So let's get into the day-to-day then. Let's use the Radiant Wilds Tarot. And let's ask what needs to be done or learned or discovered to really get you on this next pathway, the next step for you to find out who you really are and how far your life path can go. Seven of Swords reversed. Six of Pentacles reversed. That's interesting. Three of Pentacles. 10 of Swords reversed. Six of Swords. Okay, on a day-to-day level for a start, this is very much suggesting the same thing. This is saying with the Six of Pentacles reversed, you've either been in a situation where you've been trying to manifest things and it just hasn't happened. You've put a lot of effort in, you haven't had a return, you can't find people who understand what you're trying to do, you can't find sort of patrons or supporters, and you are dealing with something that is not on the up and up, really, with the Seven of Swords reversed. There's something in what you've believed that has been maybe ill chosen. It might have been manipulative. It might have been a downright lie. But it's not, you have got to this point that you know this is not returning on investment. But I think that there is a little bit where you have to rethink this. There is something you have thought, and it's thinking, not your inner knowing, it's thinking that you had to follow, and it's not a pathway that is helping you. So for instance, if you were following some particular manifestation sort of rituals and they're just not working, I think that's a bit of a sign, part one, that it's not the right thing for you. It may be right for someone else, but it's possibly not for you. And at worst, it could be that it is someone selling you something, basically, as opposed to it being the right thing for you. You really should be opening up more to what you see and feel and understand. Then you can actually start to build a foundation. It's a strategic step. I always feel when I see this Three of Pentacles in this particular deck, because it's the people standing there and looking at a chessboard, it's a strategic decision about what you want to manifest and how. And I think it's the step to get to the Six of Pentacles upright. I think there are people you can collaborate with, but they have to be people who are more aligned to your vision and not so much to whatever this outdated or potentially not honest edifice is that you're dealing with. That could be a bit dramatic. It could be a bit dramatic with the Ten of Swords. But the Ten of Swords is reversed here. So if it is, it will be over quickly. And then you will be moving on a pathway. So I think for many of you, Isis wants you to break away from a group or a pattern, or it could just be patterning within your family to more own your own spiritual pathway. That will bring in the right people for you. So what mystery is at the heart of this for you? Four of Pentacles reversed, the Hermit, the Empress, the Sun reversed again. Okay. So this really feels like that the people who've come to this reading, you have really strong natural psychic abilities. And Isis is confirming that. And that you have developed, as I say, many of those and learned a lot that was worthwhile. The mystery for you is twofold. Firstly, it is working out how you move from lack, like this day, like it's not manifesting materially for some reason at the moment. And this is because of what you need to clear from your energy field. This is what you need to focus more on you. How you move from the Four of Pentacles reversed, you unlock that energy to become the Empress, to be able to sort of manifest, to be abundant, all of those things. But the big question for you that probably will help to unlock this is what spiritual path you do follow to make your sun turn around. I feel like you have been, and I don't mean criticism here, this is meant to really help you. I think you've been a bit too much of a follower of other people's spiritual pathways. And in doing that, there's a special source in you, so to speak, that comes from the combination of, I think, your clairvoyance, maybe some of the other clear senses, and your healing ability, which is meant to be unlocked. But the mystery is, how do you do that while still feeling you're spiritual? I feel that for some of you, you would feel that to go out on your own and do this and go against maybe culture or society or family or spiritual groups that you're in, you would somehow be being egotistical or something. Like you feel like there's a value thing here for you. But in fact, you are meant to connect with others to bring some outcomes, like in manifesting it. But the first point, the first principle, you go alone. And if you think about it in that energy, the initiate comes on their own to go into the next pathway. They don't come with a whole group of people and kind of crowdsource, the next step. So there is something here about understanding there is a step now in your path that has to be relayed just on you and not on others. And you have to own your own light again to do that. Once you work out that bit of the mystery, you should unlock the rest. But you've kind of bargained your power a bit to others. So how do others therefore impact this at the moment, part one? So because there's a lot of potentially almost duplicitous or calcified energy around you, and you have kind of tried to bargain with that in a way, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked in your favor. So if you now start to find your pathway, how do others impact this? Three of Cups, the Tower, wow. 10 of Cups reverse. Okay, so this is a bit of a mixed bag, which is what I would have expected. I think there will be up to 3 people who are very key to this as time goes on. You are meant to have your own pathway, but there are up to 3 people that are very key. There will be a celebration, a connection of heart and mind, and material strategy. Some people will see this as an amazing breakthrough. Some people will see you as aspirational. Some people will see you as an icon in some way. Others will think this is breaking down something that either had to break down, like generational karma, clearing all of that. Your healing energy may do that. Or they will see you as a bit incendiary. And there are some potential fallout around that emotionally. It could be around family. If this is generational, you may need to detach as much as possible spiritually, and some may not understand that. Or you could have a major, major breakthrough on generational karma. And so therefore how they impact it is by whether they know they're doing it or not, going through the process and you starting to understand and testing your power. So it depends on how this is playing out. I think for those who you do respond to the concept of generational karma, you will have a major impact on shifting this once you do it. Some will really see it and celebrate. Others may not really know how to deal with it or may not even know it's happened. But what it will do is it will prove to you what Isis is saying to you, which is that you are at the next level and you are moving up the pathway. Okay. So what other ancient Egyptian energies might apply? We're just going to use an oracle that has other sort of gods and goddesses and energy from Egypt. So what else can we get for you on this journey to your next initiatory level, which is what this is about, and how you manifest that in the world? Auset, alchemy and healing. Yeah, you are definitely a healer. You are definitely a healer. You're very clairvoyant, but I think there's something about healing, groups, energies. But I really feel that I have to say that If it is generational karma, things like that, then certainly, your energy and your process and progress will do that. But if you have been in a false spiritual group, or one that is highly competitive, or one that tries to manipulate, don't try and heal that. Take your healing energy where it will be appreciated. And we also have Min, fertility and creation. So for some of you, there may be new family sort of like outcomes. You may actually pass on to the next generations, bring children into the world and pass on to the next generation a much more healthy way of doing things. But if not, it could be that you create something out of this, a healing program, a path that others can follow. This is really about you creating something at the end. This is why it is about manifestation ultimately. But I think, for some, it may be the new generation, the new energy within family. If you respond to that concept of generational karma, I think that's what it's talking about. Let's get you some astrology and numerology as well. And then what we're going to do to close out the reading is that we're going to see what magic you especially bring to this beyond the clairvoyance and healing that Isis has already talked to you about. Taurus. So yes, this is meant to be in the material world. I do think some of you may well do healing, like literal physical healing, or it could be bringing a better and more healthy pattern of life, more abundance and so forth into those that you care about. Also, it says be a bit stubborn. Taurus is a bit stubborn, and sometimes you need to be, and I think you do need to be. Neptune, yes, you are very psychic. It's just confirming that again. Go within, the answers are within. And I don't always say that, I have to say. Sometimes I think we have to look for external things much more because we can get a bit lost in our knowing, but you're kind of the opposite to that. You've almost got a bit lost in the science of it or the evidence of it or what everybody else thinks, and your inner knowing is very acute. This is what Isis wants you to realize. And Saturn return, yeah, you are matured in this, and if you think about it, to go to the next level of the initiatory thing is very much like reaching your Saturn return. Saturn return, the first time you have it in your life, which is usually between 28 and 30, generally speaking, it talks about having reached that sense of self and maturity where you really know who you are. By the time the next one comes around closer to 60, you're kind of liberating yourself and so forth. And I would suspect for those that get to 90, at that stage, it's about spiritual sort of maturity and getting ready for the next life or whatever, that kind of thing. But whether or not you're in that time frame, this is again saying you've reached one cycle, you've matured to one level. So it's sort of saying the same thing in a number of different ways. And Mercury, things will start to move fast for you. How you communicate will be very important. That may be what you create, some sort of different way of communicating, some different way of thinking about things. Mercury is also mercurial by nature, very sort of like fast moving, swift, all of that kind of thing, and can be a bit tricky sometimes. So I think it's both a warning and a piece of advice. You need to be as mercurial, fast thinking and so forth as some of the energies that you've been around. That's why you need to be confident. Mercury is always confident. Mercury, kind of says what it thinks because Mercury knows it's right. Like that kind of energy, and it can sort of, like a magician kind of like move through things and so forth. So you need to have that, deep down confidence that your message is the right one and so forth, so that you don't get sort of swayed by other people who speak, with a silver tongue, so to speak. Okay, so pile one. So Isis wants you to own your own spiritual development and start to manifest with the right people and clear something, a stuck and outmoded or potentially duplicitous sort of spiritual approach or some ancestral karma or whatever it is. But she wants you primarily to know that you have your own magic. So let's see, as the final last two cards, what magic she would really like you to focus on beyond the clairvoyance and healing that we've already seen. Conjure. So this is a manifestation energy too. You can bring things into being. So through ritual, through understanding, through knowing, and through connection to the earth. So some of this is really about grounding it to the earth. And learn. Okay, so she is saying, this is the second part of this. You're on the next pathway now. So she is saying, You are more advanced than you've given yourself credit for. You are potentially following the wrong people. You are meant to find your path, but it will still be a path of learning. This is the next level of an initiate. This is not becoming a complete master overnight. So your learning path will in fact potentially be accelerated by making sure that you find the right sort of spiritual disciplines and so forth that you can really relate to and that resonate for you. But this is the next step of the cycle. And you'll learn from some of what comes within, some of what you test out, conjure and bring into being, which starts to make you feel more confident. But we're always continuous learners. So be aware that is a lifelong journey for you. So I hope that resonates, pile one. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Beyond that, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile two, to your reading. So the Isis message here to you is extremely connected to the lunar cycles and the feminine cycle and femininity and flow and going with the flow. And a lot of this message from Isis is about being able to sort of move with the flow and understand very much through your body and through the sort of way that energy operates through you, when it is best to act and when it is best not to, when you need to go into the sort of dark phases of the moon and contemplate and heal and complete energies, and when it is time to move forward with new ideas, new intentions, in much the same way as the different times of the cycles of the moon are bringing those sort of energies into being. So there's a very strong divine feminine energy here and a very strong connection to the moon, which is also shown with the high priestess, because the high priestess is typically seen as a moon connected deity or entity or egregore or whatever you want to call it within the pantheon of the major arcana. So I feel that this is a message for people who are highly intuitive, highly creative, whether it be physically creative or it's sort of like emotionally or even sort of artistically creative, very, very psychic, but in that kind of lunar, receptive, go with the flow, empathy type of energy. And you are going to create something. This is why she wants you to do this. She wants you to get in touch with your body and your emotions and your energies and the cycles of life, because the card in terms of the initiatory process that is connected to her message is called the double hallway of Mart. And I'll just read you a small amount from the book to give you a sense of this. It says, the great entrance to Saqqara was figured as an omega and stood for the entrance to the womb of the great goddess of wisdom. The omega is one of the vowel sounds outside the canon of consonants that comprise the major tarot. Its shape as an entranceway is implied by depictions in the double columns. So this is an entrance. You are about to enter a new creative cycle. So this is really about understanding the questions that you need to ask, the preparation that you need to take, and the flow that you need to do to go through this process. So there's a very, very strong energy, as I say, around the concept of creation and the cycles of life. So for some of you, this could manifest materially as starting a family, having a child, taking on some sort of parental role, but it could also be a creative project. It could be a spiritual growth process. It could be anything, but there is definitely a sense here from Isis that you need to get in touch with the cycles of the moon and your inner knowing within your body to go with this. And this is partly because when we look at the almost like the headline that she wants you to concentrate on, she is saying that you are highly connected to the moon, highly connected to the divine feminine, highly connected to the mysteries, highly connected to psychic energy. You are definitely someone with that ability. But you want to manifest this in a very material way. You are highly dedicated. If you had been in the Egyptian sort of mystery schools, you would have been a highly dedicated aspirant and probably reached the level of high priestess, I would say. So you may be bringing in that kind of energy. But you are dedicated, you are committed to it. This is a vocation for you, whatever it is. So whether it is being a parent, whether it is being a creative person, whether it is a spiritual process, this is a vocation for you. And you are likely, with the Six of Wands, to get great honor out of it, because you are following the path you're meant to follow. And you've already laid the foundations in place with the Three of Pentacles. So you know what you're doing. If you wanted to have a child, then you've got a partner, you're looking at your health and your nutrition and the right cycles to do it. If you are starting a creative project, you've got the foundations in place and you've probably already achieved some degree of recognition for your skills. If it's spiritual, then you know you're ready for this next phase, and others have seen it in you. But your risk with the Chariot reversed is going too fast, because the Chariot is about momentum and forward movement. And in this particular deck, as I say, they take reversals more as cause and effect. So I feel like the energy of the Chariot, which when it is mastered at its best, would balance the cycles of the moon and also the mind and all those things. But when it's reversed as an effect, it could be where things go too fast or they don't follow the right process. So I feel like Isis is saying to you that you have all of this ability, but if you try and move too quickly through it, then you may not get the full outcome that you want. So this is about slowing down, understanding the cycles of the moon, understanding the various cycles that are involved in creation. If you think about creation on a very material level, if we plant a seed, it has to be under the ground for a while and unseen before it sprouts and starts to grow in spring, and then it will go through its maturation process. So there is something here about a creative or spiritual or material thing that you're doing that needs to follow the right timing. And Isis is saying you are very well aligned to that, but something, maybe it's your level of dedication, maybe it's the taste of recognition that you're getting and you feel like you've got the foundation, or maybe it's other people that are wanting you to do it, but something is making you speed things up too much. So there is a kind of a slow down, get within, go with the various cycles, understand those, and then you will be fine, because you are meant to create something at this point. So let's have a look with the Radiant Wilds Tarot a little bit more about how this is operating in the 3D, because this could be at a very high spiritual level, or it could be something that's very much talking about a material thing. So the first thing we want to ask is what needs to be done or learned or discovered through this message from Isis. Four of Cups, Queen of Swords, Nine of Pentacles reversed, Ten of Wands, Nine of Wands reversed. Okay. So I think she's actually giving you a bit of a hint about how to deal with this and how to slow down and get back in alignment with your cycle for whatever this is, whatever the creative or spiritually creative energy is. She says you can't do all this on your own. You need sort of like, it could be that you need a collaborator. It could just mean that sometimes somebody else has to take on the burden, and that you can't sort of just, because you're so dedicated to whatever this is, you can't just take it all on. That on a material level, Nine of Pentacles, this is not something to be done alone. So if you are wanting to start a family, you need a partner. If you are wanting to do something creative, you may need a patron or a collaborator. If you're trying to do something spiritual, there's something about connecting with others that do it. Because at the moment, you're carrying too much of a burden. This is what's making you sort of impatient. And it may even be that some around you have recognized your skill and that you're ahead on something, and they're going, okay, you do it, you look after it, but you actually need to get that into balance, because otherwise you're going to dissipate your energy far too quickly with the Nine of Wands reversed. You need to be a little bit more critical of all the information that's coming to you so that you can move out of your own kind of impasse emotionally around this. I just feel like it's something that my mother once said to me, and I thought was so true. She said, be very wary of someone who says, oh, you're so good at it. You're so good at doing this, because it normally means they don't want to do it. So there's almost an energy of this around it. It's sort of, be aware when somebody might almost be flattering you, whether consciously or not consciously, and you are taking on too much or going too fast. Use your intellectual discrimination here. You're very much on point spiritually, but it's causing a bit of a block because your mind is almost trying to kind of keep moving on through something where I don't think you're getting the same sort of support as you need. So I feel like you need to kind of draw some rules around this. Call a halt till you're ready. Get back into a cycle that suits you. You don't, like, it's interesting that this deck calls the Knight the hero, and I think, in this, you don't always have to be the hero. Others are meant to pull their weight in whatever this is. So let's ask what mystery is at the core of this for you. Ten of Pentacles, Ace of Wands, Death reversed, Seven of Wands reversed. Okay. So Isis has been pretty clear here, I think, Pole 2. She is saying you are about to create something in some form, whatever this is, whatever this creative instinct is. You are meant to do it. It is meant to manifest for you. It is meant potentially to make you money, or at least make you feel secure in what you do. It's very much inspired. You're sort of divinely inspired, creatively inspired. And that's all there for the taking. But she's saying at the moment, the mystery for you is to work out how to make the decision to step forward with it. So there's another wrinkle on this. Not only, I think, are people around you not perhaps pulling their weight, but there's almost subtly you're doubting yourself and not being sure what the timing should be and when you should take something out there. So if you want to start a family, it might be you're not sure about when to have the conversation with your partner. Are they ready to sort of be with you on the journey? If you're wanting to bring a creative project out, you're not sure about when to start to publicize it. You know, if it's a spiritual thing, you might not be sure about whether you can speak your truth yet, you know, like is that going to be accepted, particularly if there are other people around who like the status quo. But she is saying this is a very profound creative energy in you, and it has huge potential, and Ace is always a blessing. And with the Ten of Pentacles, it suggests to me that it is meant to set something in place for a long period of time or make you money or something like that. The mystery for you is to stop listening to everybody else, I think, and doing what everybody else wants to keep getting the recognition, because you'll get the recognition anyway, but you should be doing it on your terms. And that's taking that power back. So let's ask how other people will respond to this. If you take Isis's advice, I think, which is to go back into your cycles, your inner knowing, your sort of what your body is telling you, what you want to do, and less about the timetables and demands of everybody else. The Tower, okay, the Three of Pentacles, the Hermit. Okay, so some people are going to find this quite incendiary. You need to do it, but some people like the status quo. Now, having said that, others who may want to collaborate with you but have maybe not stepped forward and said, let's do this in whatever this is, they will see, aha, there's the breakthrough. This is someone that I want to connect with. So it can operate with some people thinking, oh my God, you know, like I liked it the way it was, what's going on? And then there will be others that say, aha, this is the thing. Now I really think this person's going to make something of whatever this is. But you need to be aware that not everybody is at your spiritual level. You need to be aware that some will step away from you as a result of this. Now, I don't feel like it's, you know, you're going to break down a family or anything like that. I don't think it's about that, but it may be that friends don't understand it, or that people don't fully get that this is a spiritual process for you to get into this flow. But there will be some that do, but there will be some that don't. So this is meant to be a big shift for you to take back your power, your creative power. But I do think there will be the foundation, and it will grow. And it will potentially bring in much more spiritually aligned people to you. But just don't be surprised if there's a bit of pushback. That's not a reason not to do it. Just don't be surprised if that comes through. Okay, so let's look at what other ancient Egypt from another deck energies might be supporting you in becoming the true creator that you are meant to be, Pole 2, in whatever that means to you. Syrian star blessings. Okay, so you may well be a star seed or have connections with sort of interdimensional and intergalactic inspiration. Again, you know, like it's interesting. Like, I mean, I don't think people talk about that coming from the moon, but, you know, it could be connecting to other sort of systems that have planets that have moons in them, because the moon energy is very important here. But certainly the Syrian sort of star connection could be there for you. And scrying. Okay, so you can actually tell a bit of the future. And this may be a way to deal with some people. It may well be, if people don't understand this, if you start to go into the cycles and you start to scry using that, you start to see what's coming and you start to articulate that, that's where maybe people will see, this person is actually spiritually on point, and therefore get on board. Because it looks to me like you've kind of, And maybe you've even had some success with that already. Maybe you are sort of someone who does this sort of work and whatever, but you've almost been bending over backwards to meet everybody else's schedules and so forth, and you've got to now look at how this works for you. You've almost got to use that skill for yourself if that's the case. But you definitely have the skill if you haven't tried using it. Okay. Let's also get you some astrology or numerology, and then we're going to finish up with what other magic beyond this creative magic and this divinatory magic that Isis wants you to think that you bring to achieving what she's suggesting to you now. But firstly, some astrology or numerology. Okay, waning crescent. It doesn't surprise me at all. I would have been actually surprised if no moon cycles came out, given that this is important. The waning crescent moon is letting go of things. There is something you'll need to let go of, and I do think it's the people who've been pushing you, or the energies that have been pushing you. Might be internal energies like ambition and drive that get you ahead of your skis, but otherwise people that have been pushing you, you need to, if not get rid of them, like you don't necessarily have to like make them leave your life, but you need to reduce their influence on you. Water. Yeah, water, the moon cycles. I'm feeling like for some of you, if you can get near the sea at night or something like that and commune with that, I'm sort of like envisaging sort of like the seashore at night, if you can do that, I feel like that would be really helpful for you. Otherwise, take an Epsom salts bath at night with some nice sort of aromatherapy or something. There's something to like get you back within that still center. Virgo. Okay, so this will help you manifest. Virgo will help you manifest. This is also saying good health, good constitution, all of that sort of stuff for whatever you do. But you need to be aware, Virgo, actually you can use this in a positive way, but Virgo is very much plans and procedures and doing things. And I think there's a bit of that that's been driving you. But if you can reconstitute your plans around these sort of cycles, like if you can use that Virgoan energy that way, it will work for you rather than you rushing to some timetable that you prescribed, but that is perhaps not. What it's making me think of, I've worked with some great project managers in my career who understand the business that they're dealing with, and they understand how you plan around timing to understand the business and the change and so forth. And I've also worked with some that just set up a Gantt chart and they go, this is when it has to happen. And regardless of whether it's really that relevant to the business, and that can be really disastrous. So I'm just using it as an example. It's like if you've set up a schedule that's not in alignment with your flow, you could be your own worst enemy. But if you actually if you get back to first principles about that and then set your schedule around that, then it'll be very productive for you. And void, of course, yeah, because right at the moment, until you do this, you're kind of operating without even knowing what it is that you're trying to do, and you're meant to be creating something now, so, and the void, of course, is not necessarily something to be frightened of. It also is a phase of the moon, so we're starting and stopping with the phase of the moon. So this may also be Isis saying there will be times when you feel, even though you want all the plans in the world and you want the emotional resonance, sometimes you're not sure. When that's the case, go within, give yourself time, slow down, take a breath. This will pass. And pay attention to the moon cycles, because it may be when the moon is void, of course, that is a time not to make a decision. You could potentially, if you really pay attention to the cycles, build that kind of structurally into what you do. Okay, so pile 2, what we're going to do is we're going to finish off with 2 cards around other magic that you have that could be helpful in you bringing about this flow of creativity and sort of spiritual awareness. Release. Yeah, there are some things you have to release, and see how she's sort of all in her head. This is like the Virgo energy needs to work for you. I mean, I know that's an earth sign rather than an air sign, but it's got a lot of air qualities to it. It's all about planning and so forth. So releasing some of that, getting back into the flow. And moon magic. Well, you can't write home about it. That has to be. You are very, very connected to the moon. If you're not aware of that, you're very, very connected to the moon. The other thing that I would say from a different background than ancient Egypt, the moon is very much connected to the Archangel Gabriel. So, and the Archangel Gabriel is very connected to prophecy. So you can see what's coming. This is definitely also saying that. So part of this is about being in the flow of things, but some of it is also that you are prophetic, or at the very least precognitive. So know that in yourself, so that you trust your own pacing once you've gone into it, rather than thinking that you have to live by somebody else's sort of deadlines or project plans, so to speak. So I hope that that resonates for you, pile two. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile three, to your reading. So it seems to me in pretty much every set of readings I do, and I think this is a reflection of the people in this collective, there's usually one that's very much about leadership, and this is definitely in that space, definitely in that space. Now, this could be spiritual leadership, it could be material leadership in career, it could be leadership in something political or creative, but leadership is what this is about. And it's very, very interesting because we start with the Queen of Heaven. So Isis is talking here about a blessing from the Divine Empress of the Skies. The blessing is to understand that you're meant to be a leader. Now, this means a number of different things. So it can mean that you need to come to terms with authority figures in your past. And I think with some of this is true as you step into that. So I will talk about that a bit when we get to this bit. But it's also about understanding leadership and what it means to you. So this is feminine type of leadership, regardless of, it's not about gender, it's not about what body you are in or what you identify. It's not that, but it is about feminine leadership in some way. That kind of which is nurturing and creative and caring and collaborative and a whole range of things like that. But it's also about understanding leadership as not sort of something hierarchical or positional. It is about having authority in something for, I guess, the reason of who you are. Character is destiny. So what that means is that some of you may manifest your leadership in a position of authority. You could be a CEO, you could be a head of corporate, you could be a entrepreneur, it could be any of those sort of things. But equally, it may not be positional. It might be that you become an authority figure, a thought leader. It may be that you work within a collective where you are in authority when your topic of expertise is in play, and at other times you cede the authority to someone else in a collaborative way when theirs is. So there is a fluidity to this and there is a maturity to this, and it is saying that you are very well aware of that, ready to take that on. And what we have here is one of the 4 cards that I talked about in the introduction in this deck, which are stages in the initiatory process, I guess, as much as anything else. And so I wanted to use that to sort of see what Isis was saying about this leadership. And what this is saying very clearly is this is meant to manifest in the world. This is not a leadership where you could kind of sit in a room and read every book on a topic and be an expert but not share it. It's not one where you could theoretically have all the leadership abilities, but you don't manifest them in some way in the world. This one, the 4 channels, is the stage of the initiatory journey where you are ready to bring it into what they talk about, the minor arcana suit, the actual energies of the world. Because when you think about the minor arcana, that's what it is. You have cups for emotional life. You have pentacles for the material, monetary, physical life. We have wands for the sort of action, ambition, passion, and we have swords for our philosophies, our beliefs, our justice system, all those sorts of things. So Isis is bringing you a pretty clear message here that you are meant in some way in the world to bring about some form of leadership. And it may be, as I say, given almost this headline here, it may be that part of that is to really critically examine and let go of where leadership hasn't worked. Because, and also assessing even with those, without necessarily demonizing someone, there could be a leader that you need to move away from because it's not appropriate anymore. But nevertheless, there were maybe some good qualities to remember. So it is a fair and just assessment, but it needs to be a clear one and not a sentimental one. Because we start here with the Ace of Wands reversed. This says to me, and in this deck, as I say, they read reversals as effect. So instead, I would normally look at the Ace of Wands and I would say it's a blessing, it's just a bit suppressed. But in this situation, this is about creative power and passion and ambition. And the effect of the Ace of Wands when it's reversed is denial of one's creative ambition. And we have death in life, which is the death card reversed. And the effect of that is not to make the choices to move into one's power. And this has to do with existing power forces because we have the Hierophant here. Now, this definitely picks up that message that the passageway for many of you to bring your leadership in is to critically but fairly assess that which is suppressing good decision making, good ambition, good creativity. What in the current structure of power needs to shift? So for some of you, this is going to play out in positional power. It's going to play out in politics. It's going to play out in community groups, all of that kind of thing. But for others of you, if it's not about shifting actual structures, it may be about releasing your doubts about your readiness on a spiritual level to take on a position of leadership. And it may be also releasing doubts about whether you have the knowledge yet. So some of you may feel, well, I can't do that yet because I don't have this qualification, or I haven't sort of gone through these steps or whatever. In terms of whatever this leadership is, Isis is saying you are ready to manifest this. So you need to own your own authority. That's very, very important. And to love what you do, to make it an offering in a way with the Hero of Cups, because that's effectively the Knight of Cups. For some of you, this leadership may lead to a significant relationship. So it may play out in taking the first step to bring about a love relationship and take it to the next level. It's a very specific reading of those two, but it is possible. But for most of you, it's about now really owning your leadership in the thing that you love most and being prepared with the Five of Swords here to deal with any battles, intellectual battles that you have to have because of the sort of like the push against the old to bring in the new. So this is pretty much a call to arms, I have to say. Not necessarily for a big battle, but to be prepared to step into who you are and not to sort of keep thinking, oh, I've just got to learn some more, or, I'll do that next year when I've got this qualification or whatever. You're ready, is what Isis is saying. So let's have a look with the Radiant Wild Tarot at this on a more kind of 3D level. And a lot of this is 3D, so it's going to be very important here. So we're firstly asking Isis what needs to be done or learned or discovered to really take advantage of her advice to you now. Three of Cups, Six of Pentacles reversed, Five of Pentacles reversed, the Hanged Man reversed, and the Page of Pentacles. Yeah, this is very material. I think for most of you, it's going to be in a business and a career thing and something that's sort of around resources or politics or something. Because we've got, out of 5 cards there, we've got 3 Pentacles. What she is saying is firstly, celebrate the fact that you're ready to do this, because you are ready to do this. And you will find others around you who are happy, who see your heart is in it and who have a similar passion for whatever this is. And if it is about a relationship, you're very likely to find you can bring that relationship in. There is mutual love. But I think for most of you, as I say, this is more about finding your tribe and being the leader in it. I do think for some of you, it may be a very collaborative thing where the leadership baton is almost passed between you, which is a very healthy and very mature way of doing it, but it will depend. It will be different for different people. What has been going on is that you have been doing a lot on your own, and it's time not to do that, because that takes you out of this energy with the Six of Pentacles reversed, where you haven't really been able to find the support that you needed. So there is definitely for most of you something about the existing power structure that hasn't given you what you wanted. But when you are prepared to sort of like take on your leadership and find your people, that comes through. But it does require you thinking differently about this and thinking differently about yourself. And what Isis is saying is with the Page of Pentacles, the best thing you could possibly do is do a business plan of some sort. Now, it doesn't have to be literally for a business. What I mean when I say a business plan is that I think that all the pages in many ways are ready to articulate better what it is that their suit is talking about. So this is talking about the material outcome of this leadership energy. Your heart's there, but what you really need to do is say, what does this look like materially? So, it could literally be a business plan. It could be a strategic plan for a political sort of thing, or it could just simply be, what does this look like if it was manifest? If we could shift to something that was more heart-centered, what would that look like on a manifest level? And kind of write it down and be clear about it, because that forces you to think differently maybe about some of the power structures and what's been happening. And if you were waiting for somebody who was a leader to come forward and be more heart-centered, I think it'll make you realize that's just not going to happen. You need to do it yourself. Okay, so let's see what mystery there is at the core of this for you, because we're talking about the mystery school. So let's see what mystery is at the core. Justice, Two of Cups reversed, the World, Ten of Wands. Wow. Yeah, a lot of you, this is, big ticket leadership on one level or another when you've got justice and the world there. I think what is happening with you, and as I say, whether it's in a relationship, for some of you it could be, but I think for most of you this is about you finding your place in the material world in some way. And I think the thing that makes you do it is there's a side of you that goes, I just can't understand how what is going on is just. I think you're looking at a situation, whether it's in a community group, whether it's in a friendship circle, whether it's in an organization. The mystery to you is how this can be occurring, like how a just world could be so imbalanced emotionally and so detached from the heart and so much of a burden on everybody. I think you're looking at it and you're saying this could be done so much easier. So I think it's about you're dismayed. Something is happening that is dismaying you, but it's meant to. Isis wants that to happen so that you step in and start to take a material control of this. It also makes me think that a lot of you, this is sort of like leadership, which is either collaborative or possibly servant leadership, because you want it connected to the heart. You cannot see how any leadership can stand and last maybe as long as the current leadership has when it is so disconnected from the heart, when it is so burdensome. So the mystery for you is how do you bring that back in? And I think the first step is doing it yourself. So how do others react if you step into this leadership, if you take on the advice of Isis? Pile 3. Queen of Wands, 8 of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles, reversed. Okay, so for the most part, extremely well. I think you're going to find other people who have similar sorts of ways of looking, similar heart to you, and similar sorts of levels of leadership. I do think for most of you, this is a collaborative leadership in some way, in whatever that means to you. And I feel like there is a real sense of your charisma and your drive and what you're bringing and that heart-centered thing, and that it's just. And people will want to bring their skills to bear to this. People will want to collaborate with you. People will want to also learn from you. And also potentially bring you teaching and so forth. Some people of the old order will disappear, I think, with the Knight of Pentacles reversed. Some will not be able to commit to something like this. They like the old order, the old structure, but I don't think you need to worry, because I think some really powerful, strong energies are coming in to support you. So don't blink about this, pile 3. You're ready to do this. You're ready to bring it into the world. Okay, so let's see what other Egyptian energy from another deck can also help you with stepping into your leadership. Ra, creative power. Well, it doesn't get much more powerful than that. Now, the interesting thing too is what this is saying is that this is the feminine energy, the feminine creativity. This is the masculine. It is saying that you will be able to balance that very, very well. It's one of the reasons why this card talks about it. It's not about what gender you are. It's about that kind of collaborative energy, but you're also highly creative. This is what's been held down in you to some degree to date with the Ace of Wands reversed. So you need to be in a space to create, and you will be able to take that forward and lead with that energy as well. And Sekhmet, change and healing. So yes, fierceness, you're fierce. Sekhmet is fierce, lion-headed goddess, but she also heals. This is something that is necessary. You can't, as I say, you're dismayed by a situation you're in. You're dismayed by the rules of the world. You're dismayed by whatever it is, and you are fierce enough and creative enough to deal with it. And so it's sort of time to come forward with that. Let's get you some astrology or numerology to also help you. The Sun, oh, wow, Ra, yeah, very creative, very much a leader, very much your life purpose too, whether you like it or not, pile 3. Because you might be a little bit self-effacing, but seriously, I think you're just going to get so irritated by the lack of heart and the lack of justice and so forth that you see around you that you'll step into it anyway. But if you're in any doubt that you're meant to. 6, yeah, and it is in community and it is in collaboration with others. You have a really good community sense and a really strong collaborative energy, which is really lovely leadership energy, pile 3. waxing crescent moon. So the waxing crescent moon is where you set new intentions. That's what you're meant to be doing now. You don't have to do it all. Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't have to boil the ocean, all those other cliches. You don't have to do that. You just need to set some intentions and start to move in that direction, and you will draw the people to you and the skills around you that you need. And 2, you may also draw in a significant relationship if you're not already in one. So that is definitely a potential around this for many of you who've come here, if you're also looking for that kind of connection. I think it will be with an equal if that's the case, which is lovely. Okay, so last but not least, I just want to get you a couple of other magical abilities you might have that will go with this natural leadership ability that Isis is talking about. So one is guide. Okay, you can guide others, and I do think that is part of your magical ability. It's part of your leadership, but you will also have a very powerful guide around you. It may in fact be Isis or Sekhmet maybe, or even Ra. But, it could be from a different sort of pantheon as well, whatever you connect to. And influence, yeah, you will be able to influence things. And it's interesting, influence can be a double-edged sword. It can be, beguiling and all those sort of things, but your energy is too positive. But you can also recognize where influence has been negative. So you can persuade people, you can bring people with you. A lot of your leadership is highly sort of fiery and charismatic and influential. As I say, you don't necessarily have a position of power. Some of you may well end up in a position of power, but you don't necessarily have that to lead. It's something that's within you. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 3. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 4, to your reading. So you came to the reading with Cartouche, the Divine Names of Power. And there's a lot about the spoken word thought and the spoken word here. This is what Isis is talking about primarily here with Cartouche. Cartouche is literally about the power of the spoken word, the power of thought. It's the rituals of speaking things into life, speaking things into being, using your voice, using your communication skills, possibly even, if you are someone who is sort of creative in a sort of vocal way, music, sort of oration, writing, all of those sort of things, very, very powerful energy for you. But this is certainly a call to heal through the use of your communication. And it's very interesting because you have come to the reading that of the 4 sort of initiatory stages, cards that are separate to the normal tarot here, you have the card that is life and death. It's a sort of mirror or sister card to death and life, which is the death card in the more normal part of the tarot. But this actually talks about being on that threshold of speaking something into life or coming into life again. So it's almost the threshold from one life into another. So I feel that the combination of the two, and particularly with the energy that we have here, is that there's one of 2 things that are really happening here, and maybe both at the same time. One is karmic, that this is time now to clear karmic energy, to speak a new world into being, to communicate something that breaks old patterns and old restrictions and old ideas and old philosophies, using those rituals to heal and using the voice and how you communicate to speak into life what this life is meant to be. The second is not necessarily related to past lives. It's more maybe symbolic of creating a new life for yourself in this world through your understanding of the use of the power of communication, ideas and thoughts. But either way, and it could be both, either way, you are in a situation that requires it, because the energy here in the headline of what Isis is talking about, we start with the Emperor. So there is something about power. This could all be playing out in a workplace with the Emperor there on a very classic level. But otherwise, it's sort of power, masculine power. You could be in very patriarchal environments or workplaces or family cultures. You could be male or identify with being male, but you're dealing with power issues and how you speak a different way of doing that into being. But there's something to do with power, authority in the world. And there is a lot of conflict around you at the moment. And this is why you are meant to now speak something new into life. Because the environment you're in, you have the 5 of Wands, so that's conflict. It's fairly petty conflict. It's not conflict that's major. You are more than able to deal with this. This is what Isis is saying, but it is there, and it's connected to the powers of the situation that you're in, the kind of almost ruling ideas. And that is challenging you to think and speak differently, because then we have 3 swords cards, and we have 8, 9, and 8, 10, and 9. So 8, 9, 10. Now, the thing about swords cards in general is that the reason that they're tricky in the tarot by the time you get to the sort of 8, 9, 10 level is that we can imagine things as being far worse than they are. We can think ourselves into anxiety and into drama when it isn't even that bad. So I think part of what Isis is saying is that you have the power to shift something. Whatever this is, you can shift it through your communication, your thinking, and your own natural authority. This is not set in stone, but you have to not use your excellent mind and communication skills against yourself. You need to understand that you're much bigger than the conflict that's around you. That this feels like, I mean, the thing that this makes me feel like is the concept of, like in The Wizard of Oz, where everybody thought the Wizard of Oz was this incredibly powerful person. But in actual fact, like the 5 of Wands here, when the green curtain was pulled back, it was just a man sort of using a machine. So I think this is saying to start to understand that, and how you can speak a shift in whatever this is. And it will start to prove to you how much you can influence your environment and bring in a better way of doing things and relieve things. So relieve anxiety. The 8 of Swords in particular here is suggesting that the effect of this at the moment is to imprison people, but you could release it. The 10 of Swords says that this could be at its end. It is time for this to be at its end, but you are anxious about it with the 9 of Swords. And I think that Isis is saying it's almost been deliberate to make you anxious, to be honest, because it's almost as though you had to have something that was strong enough to make you go, enough is enough, and I must create a new world, I must create a new way of being, and so forth. If this is around karmic stuff, then there is some sort of philosophy that you have almost brought in, that it is time to let it go, so that you breathe in something new, because it isn't working for you anymore. So let's look at it with the Radiant Wilds Tarot to get just a little bit more of a sense of how this is playing out in the 3D for you at the moment. So firstly, what lessons are there? What are you meant to develop? What are you meant to sort of discover through Isis's message for you today? King of Wands. The Tower. Wow. 5 of Wands again. Ace of Wands reversed. 4 of Pentacles reversed. Okay. Big changes have to happen. This is, whatever this situation is, it's no longer serving you. At the very least, if this is just a philosophy or something, it's no longer serving you. If this is a workplace, if this is a family situation, whatever it might be, it's no longer serving you. It is time for that to fall. It can't sustain itself any longer, actually. New life has to be breathed into something, and you are the person who can do that. You are both very eloquent and clever, and you have a lot of charisma as well. You can, you may feel as the King of Wands, can I stand up to the Emperor? But the Emperor is in a embattled situation that is going to fall. So this is partly you stepping into a place. It's like, I feel like, I could see you literally getting up and rallying people to a particular idea or a cause, because the old order is shifting and this is time for you to move in. But you have to be prepared to deal with the minor conflict. You mustn't blink. You just go through with it. You aren't as confident as you should be, because you kind of felt a bit comfortable where you were, even if it wasn't fitting what you kind of believed. So, and you're a bit worried about material outcomes. But the thing to understand is you are much more advanced than you think. You're not here at an Ace of Wands reverse. You're already a King of Wands. You already have the sort of intellectual ability, the ability, vocally in some way, the way, very compelling way of speaking. And the battle is coming anyway, in whatever this is. Now, if this was around a relationship where there's a power imbalance, then you're going to blow through this relationship, I think. You're going, like, maybe you can heal it and fix it, but you have to do it. There is something going on at the moment that cannot hold the way that it is. The old regime is ending, something new is coming into life. You can speak the right thing into life, but you have to recognize your own ability here, pile 4. So Let's ask what the heart of the mystery of this is then. Because I think you'll know this. I think that, if you've come to the right reading, you'll know what I'm talking about, what it is that really needs to shift. So what's the heart of the mystery at this? And that will start to make you understand what Isis is saying about your ability to breathe the new into life. Four of Wands. Four of Swords. Eight of Cups. Three of Swords. Okay, so the mystery for you may be trying to work out the balance between what is privately within you, where you need to be on your own, and where you need to be with others. I think that you're someone who really likes to be around other people, who likes to be in a group, who likes to... There was something about this, even if it wasn't allowing you to fulfill your potential, that sort of felt secure, at 4. This is about you being able to work out what you need to move away from and how to release the pain associated with that. There's a lot of mental pain and mental energy around you that you're carrying, and it's almost a bargain so that you can still have connections with others but also have your time out. You haven't wanted to make a stand about whatever this is, but you've got to do it. This is shifting. Whatever this situation is shifting, and that's the mystery to you. That's going to happen anyway, but you are somehow still very pivotal to it. So you wouldn't necessarily have chosen to break down the regime no matter how stressful it was, but it's going to happen anyway, and you are meant to take a role in breathing what is new into being. That's the mystery for you, and it's a balance between you finding some space and time out for yourself to clear out any regret you have with it, but also creating a new group, a new way of being. So how will others respond to you taking on this challenge? Powerful. Queen of Wands reversed, Two of Pentacles, Ten of Pentacles. Okay. Some people will not follow, some people will leave, some people will be threatened by this. It's the old order, the old dominant energy. So some will do that. There is no capacity to move through this change and have everything the same at the end. It's antithetical. You can't. So some will move away, but some will make a choice to stay, and they will stay long term. So whatever this is, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, work, whatever, I think for many of you this is around work or power in some way, like the powers of the world. For the most part, most are going to see the value in what you do, and they're going to stay and they're going to be loyal. But those that can't deal with it will leave. So there is some collateral loss in this. There is, but in the longer term, there's something that's actually much better and much more stable coming out of it. Okay, so let's see what other Egyptian energy can support you in this. So from another oracle deck. Satyrs, fertility and satisfaction. So in the end, you are going to bring something into life, like fertility in a different way. I feel this is a spoken word and so forth. I mean, I'm just getting that if any of you, this is like literally like you want to do the performing arts or something like that, then you are going to be able to bring in something that's very compelling. But there will be some competitors who can't deal with it, but most are going to see it and they're going to take it on. You just might have to, like, you could be a singer in a band and it might be time to leave the band and do it yourself, that kind of thing. But whatever it is, you will actually bring in new growth and be satisfied with the outcome in the end. It's worth it, I think Isis is saying. And happy, water spirit. Yeah, so very creative. And again, music. If you are into music, very, very compelling sort of way of doing musical energy with this. But certainly there's sort of emotional flow, better emotional flow. Because in fact, you're fearing a little bit, the loss of people, the loss of connections, or, whatever this means. But in actual fact, you're going to bring in better emotional energy out of this. So let's get you some astrology and numerology also to help you. Grand Cross. So yeah, I mean, it's tricky. You are the person to do this, but there is going to be sort of like things that you have to balance and weigh up. And this is partly, your eloquence. You'll be able to do it. We will have a look at the planets, but you will be able to do it. 22, yeah, because you're the master at this. The master at something in terms of your sort of vocal delivery, you're very articulate, very compelling, very influential. Mercury, yeah, very, very good at very articulate. You are the person to do this, powerful. And 7, yeah, it's a holy thing with 7. It's a holy number, but it can also mean you need courage and so forth. It will take a bit of courage, but you actually really are more than ready to do this. Let's just have a look at the planets for the Grand Cross. So these are energies that can kind of, at their worst, they kind of, if they work against each other, could make it hard for you to feel you can do this. But at their best, they give a dynamism to it to really make this happen, and this has to happen. Powerful. So hopefully mainly look at the dynamism, but I'll just deal out till I get planets. Sun, yeah. So your life path, who you are. You have a very specific skill set for this. I feel like that movie that Liam Neeson's in when he goes, I've got a very specific set of skills. That's kind of the energy you have for this. I think it's taken. Anyway, Sun, Moon. Some of you, this could connect with a very significant relationship, but otherwise it's about your sort of masculine and feminine energies operating and so forth in all this, your emotion and your kind of life path. Neptune, psychic sort of ability, psychic connections with others. We will get to another planet eventually. Saturn, okay, yeah, and bringing the structure of the powers of the world and so forth, and things taking a bit of time. So what I would say, working at its most positive. The dynamism of all this is your life path with your emotional path, being more true to your heart, connecting with your sort of inner knowing, psychic empathy and so forth, and bringing structure into something, bringing something that is lasting. If it's operating kind of if some of these are competing with you, then there could be a sort of a difference between what your ideals are and what you think you can actually manifest. So the detail might be important. You need clarity. Now use Mercury there because you'll be emotionally resonant. But if you are too emotional about what you do and how you say this, you might lack the clarity. So I think make sure you call on Mercury as well. Saturn with the Sun might make it slow or make you doubt yourself or make you think that who are you to the powers that be? As the King of Wands, who are you to the Emperor? But in actual fact, this is what you're meant to be doing. So don't let Saturn overwhelm the Sun. Let Saturn help you create a sustainable thing. And again, remember Mercury is there. This is your special source. You are a genius when it comes to communication. That's how you're meant to breathe something into life. Okay, so finally, let's have a look at your magic. Any other magic beyond this incredible sort of articulate delivery of ideas and sort of influence? What else can help you? Powerful. Meditation, so going within yourself, making sure you're clear. Give yourself time out. Don't rush it. You don't have to rush it. And rest, yeah. Rest. Yeah, because this is a contentious environment, and you will be a leader whether you want it or not, but you're going to be vocalizing this. You need your energy. Like, I'm literally getting rest your voice sometimes too, particularly if you are a performing artist or something like that. Meditation to bring the inspiration and the creativity through. But if this is in a contentious environment, and I think for most of you it is, you are more than a match for this. But you do need to make sure you have time for yourself. You do need to rest because it may take a bit of time, particularly with Saturn, to fully bring this into being. Think of it as breathing something into life. Think about it as like gestation. Like, when someone is having a child, it takes 9 months theoretically, or, roughly 9 months for it to gestate. And then there's the process of the birth itself, which is often a bit long-winded as well. So give yourself that time and give yourself the rest and sort of balance out your energy as you go along. But you are the person to do this, powerful. You are more than capable, so don't doubt that. I hope that this resonated for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.